Sounds good. I have 10 o'clock. How about you, Steph?
Yep, 10 o'clock on my end.
All right. Good morning, members of the MAG Transportation Review Committee. As a reminder, please turn your mics on and clearly state your name before speaking to ensure that members of the audience can hear you. And please mute your mics when not speaking to eliminate any feedback noise. Because this is a virtual meeting, a roll call vote will be taken for each action item on the agenda. Phone only attendees will need to press *6 to unmute themselves. We will now begin the meeting with a roll call of all the members. Steph.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll begin the roll call going alphabetical by agency. So we'll start with Ted Wolf, Apache Junction. Paul Patney, ADOT. Raj Thoutam, Avondale. Scott Lowe, Buckeye. Hal Marin from Cave Creek. Jason Crampton, City of Chandler. Jorge Gastelum, El Mirage.
Present.
Thank you. Christopher Salas from Florence. Andy Whistler attending for David Janover, Fountain Hills.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Justin Weldy. I'm the Public Works Director appearing for Mr. Janover. Mr. Whistler is not available.
Oh, thank you, Justin. I have you noted.
You're welcome.
Jason Hafner, Gilbert.
Here.
Thank you. Parab Adabala from Glendale.
Here.
Thank you. Chris Bridges, Goodyear.
Here.
Bob Thaxton, Guadalupe.
Here.
Thank you. Keith Drunaski, Litchfield Park.
Here.
Keith Brown, City of Maricopa. Steve Wilcox, Maricopa County.
Present.
Thank you. Shar Johnson, Paradise Valley.
Yes, present.
Thank you. Adina Lund from Peoria.
Here.
Thank you. Keeney Knudsen, City of Phoenix.
Here.
Thank you. We've got John Kraft from Pinal County.
Yes, good morning. I'm here.
Thank you. Mohammed Youssef from Queen Creek.
Here.
Thank you. Mark Melanchenko, City of Scottsdale.
Here.
Thank you. Kristen Taylor for Surprise.
Here. Thank you.
Thanks. Shelley Seiler, City of Tempe.
Here.
Thank you. Randy Babchuk from Tolleson.
Here.
Thank you. Herschel Workman, Wickenburg. Grant Anderson, Youngtown.
Here.
Thank you. Is there anyone I missed in the roll call?
Yes, hi, good morning.
Town of Cave Creek.
So Hal Marin from Cave Creek. Was there someone else?
Yes, good morning. This is Paul Patney with ADOT.
Paul, thank you. I've got you noted, and let me just
Thank you.
confirm we have a quorum.
Yes, this is Raj Thoutam from City of Avondale.
Oh, Raj, thank you. All right, Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Moving on to item number 2, call to the audience. An opportunity for public comments on the agenda was provided ahead of the meeting. Steph, have we received any public comments?
Mr. Chair, we did receive one comment from Ms. Kelly Wright. Begin comment. Please understand there is a great growth of residents, businesses, farms, and ranches in Whispering Ranch and Whitman, west of the Hassayampa River. There are million-dollar properties and Toyota Proving Grounds top facility, which brings in many jobs and dollars to Maricopa County with low environmental impact. The only way for sheriffs, medical, fire, and all of the humans above to access this rapidly growing area is passing through the Hassayampa River bottom. This river crossing does not receive much attention, but I can assure you that 7 to 10 days out of 10 months per year, everyone, including the United States Postal Service, is forced to drive through dangerous conditions. Please make starting the Hassayampa River Bridge or the Hassayampa River Overpass construction the #1 priority in Maricopa County and begin construction immediately. Thank you for your diligence and proactive stance in protecting Maricopa County residents, small and large businesses in Whispering Ranch. End comment.
Thank you, Steph. Is that all the comments we've received?
That is all the comments we've received, yes.
Great. Moving on to item number 3, Transportation Policy and Planning Director's Report. Tim Stroh, MEG Transportation Policy and Planning Director, will provide a report to the Transportation Review Committee on activities of general interest. Tim.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. Hope everybody's doing great. I'd like to start off the meeting by welcoming a new member, Shar Johnson, Town Engineer representing the town of Paradise Valley. Welcome to the committee, Shar. My next item is regarding the vice chair position for this committee. I made a mistake last month in my director's report and got a little ahead of the MAG process regarding the replacing of a vacated vice chair position. As you all know, Somit Mohan was the City of Goodyear representative for this committee. He was also the vice chair. Well, the City of Goodyear replaced Somit Mohan with Chris Bridges, and we welcomed him to the committee last month, and I made the announcement that he also will be assuming the vice chair position because the City of Goodyear held that position. Since that time, I met with additional MAG staff, and we, according to the MAG committee operating policies and procedures, when the vice chair position does become vacant, we must open that chair position to the entire committee. So after the meeting today, Steph and I will be sending out an email with a memo asking for letters of interest for the vice chair position. I did talk to Chris about this oversight and apologize for the confusion. And since that time, the city manager of Goodyear has submitted a letter of interest on behalf of Chris to become the next vice chair. So I just wanted to make that clear. This does remain a West Valley seat. As you know, we rotate the different vice chair and chair positions. We create a geographically balanced situation where the chair before RJ was City of Phoenix, then we went to Mesa, which is the East Valley, and now the vice chair is a West Valley position. Whoever assumes a vice chair position will take on this responsibility till the end of the term, which is the end of December, is when we will bring in a new vice chair, and then the vice chair that we elect will move up to the chair position. So I apologize for the confusion. Got a little ahead of myself and jumped in front of the MAG process. So like I said, keep an eye out for a memo coming out later today. And the letters of interest we do next Friday, May 5th at 5 o'clock. And please feel free to reach out after the meeting with any questions. My next item is regarding crossing guard training workshops. As several of you know, that we've held these virtually over the past few years due to COVID. Well, now we're returning to in-person crossing guard trainings. We're going to have 3 coming up, so I wanted to make you aware. I'm sure some of your staff has been sitting on these different committees. The first one is going to be Wednesday, July 26th at Devonshire Senior Center in Phoenix. The next one will be Thursday, August 3rd at Coronado High School in South Scottsdale. And then the last one will be Monday, August 7th at Centennial High School in Peoria. We appreciate you getting the word out regarding these trainings. They're very, very important to the region. We've had several member agency staff participate in the planning and facilitating of the trainings that are coming up. Registration can be accessed at srts.azmag.gov, or as you know, please feel free to reach out to Margaret Herrera after the meeting with any questions. My next item is regarding RARF and HERF revenue collections. RARF revenue collections continue to stay positive and remain strong. March collections were 8% higher than March the previous year. However, the HERF collections were approximately 5% lower when compared to March the previous year, so they took a little bit of a dip. And I just want to let the committee know that Prop 400 extension still remains a top priority for our agency. I know that John Bowen and Dr. Kester Thomas and Ed Zerker and Nathan Pryor have been working very hard with our member agencies and members of the legislature on the importance of this effort. So if you have any questions regarding this item, please feel free to reach out to John or Audra with any questions. Mr. Chair, that completes my report.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 4, approval of consent agenda. Items 4A through 4D are on the consent agenda. Are there any items members wish to be taken off of the consent agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve consent items 4A through 4D?
Anderson, I will move.
Thank you, Grant. Is there a second?
Mohammed Yusuf,
Jason
second.
Hafner, Town of Gilbert.
Mohammed is seconded. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Steph, please call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Paul Patney,
Aye.
Raj Thoutum,
Aye.
Hal Marin,
Aye.
Jorge Gastelum,
Aye.
Justin Weldy,
I will abstain, Mr. Chair, since I was not present at the meeting.
thank you. Jason Hafner,
Aye.
Parab Adabala,
Aye.
Chris Bridges,
Aye.
Bob Thaxton, Keith Drenaski,
Aye.
Steve Wilcox,
Aye.
thank you. Shar Johnson,
Aye.
Adina Lund,
Aye.
Keeney Knudsen,
Aye.
John Kraft,
Aye.
Mohammed Youssef,
Aye.
Mark Melanchenko,
Aye.
Kristen Taylor,
Aye.
Shelley Seiler,
Aye.
Randy Babchuck,
Aye.
Grant Anderson,
Aye.
and Mr. Chair, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you so much. The motion passes.
Great, thank you. Moving on to item number 5. Second project deferral, City of Tempe Union Pacific Railroad Tempe South Spur Line Project. Item number 5 on the agenda will be introduced by Kay Borg, MAG Transportation Planning Project Manager. This item is on the agenda for action. Ms. Borg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the Transportation Review Committee. As stated, this item is a second project deferral request from the City of Tempe, and this is for the Union Pacific Railroad Tempe South Spur Line project. And the city wishes to defer construction in order to complete design and to conduct public outreach for the new pathway alignment. And again, this is on your agenda for possible action. The MAG federal funding guidelines allow a first-time deferral request without justification. However, if the agency wishes to defer a project for a second time, an appeal process is required, which includes a presentation of the request through the MAG committee process. The presentation from the member agency must explain the specific problem or issue that is beyond the control of the agency requiring the deferral, a demonstration of financial commitment to develop the project, a revised schedule and plan that addresses the specific issues identified, and to demonstrate that the previous cause of delay has been addressed. A brief history of the evolution of the project. The project was received MAG Design Assistance funding in 2013 to complete 15% preliminary engineering and design for the project corridor, and was later awarded construction funding from the MAG Regional Competitive Call for Projects in August of 2015. The first project deferral was approved in April of 2020, and that was to shift construction from fiscal year 2020 to 2023. And the deferral was requested in order to address several issues that were raised by ADOT and the railroad after the city was able to complete 30% design. Some of those issues included cultural resource impacts, utility locations, and constrained segment of the railroad right-of-way that affected the path location. In 2022, the city of Tempe requested a scope modification to shift the project alignment west away from the railroad south spur line for a portion of the project. And this request was approved by MAG Regional Council on February 20 of 2022. I'd like to turn over the presentation to Mr. Chase Wallman, Senior Transportation Planner with the City of Tempe, who will present the details of the city's second deferral request. Thank you.
Great. Good morning. Thank you, Kay, Mr. Chair, members of the Transportation Review Committee. As Kay said, my name is Chase Wallman. I'm a Senior Transportation Planner with the City of Tempe. And thanks for the opportunity this morning to present Tempe's second deferral request of the Union Pacific Railroad Tempe South Spur Line project. Next slide, please. To get everyone oriented to where this project is within the region, the project's located on the west side of Tempe. The project spans from University Drive to Baseline Road, running along Farmer Ave, Roosevelt Street, and Kyrene Road, from University Drive to Baseline Road. These two maps here on the left and right show the south and north terminus of the project. So this map here on the bottom left shows our south terminus of the project at Kyrene and Baseline Road. These dashed lines here show some of the regional transit bike ped routes that the project directly connects to. So on the south end, on this bottom left image, it shows a direct connection to the regional Western Canal path at Baseline Road. So this path continues to other regional off-street pathways that directly connect to the city of Chandler, city of Mesa, and the town of Guadalupe via the Highline Canal, Kyrene Canal, and Western Canals. This image on the top right shows our northern terminus at Farmer Ave and University Drive. There's additional bike facilities that connect directly north to the Rio Salado path. So this is a path system that continues west directly to the city of Phoenix, east to the city of Mesa, and then north it also connects to the Indian Bend Wash path, which continues north to the city of Scottsdale. Also on the top right, you'll see some thicker dash lines in blue and green. These are some of the other significant fixed rail transit routes that we have. Less than a half a mile from the northern terminus of the project, we have the new Tempe streetcar, which directly connects to the regional light rail that continues through Phoenix into Mesa. Next slide, please. So to give a brief summary of what this project is proposing, this project is proposing to improve Farmer Ave, 13th Street, Roosevelt Street, Manhattan Drive, and Kyrene from University Drive to Baseline Road. These are mostly on-street improvements. So what we are proposing are buffered and protected bike lanes, a two-way cycle track. A large portion of this project is to improve ADA accessibility for pedestrians. So it's not just a bike project, but also a pedestrian one. So we are proposing to improve ADA accessibility with new ADA directional ramps, ADA accessible driveways around alleys. In addition, there's also almost 1.5 miles of missing sidewalk gap along this project corridor. So this project is proposing to complete that gap with nearly 1.5 miles of new sidewalks. And then in addition, we will be implementing wayfinding signage, landscaping, and lighting. Next slide, please. So this project is significant not only for the city of Tempe, but for the region as a whole. First, this project is part of Tempe's Bike It Bike Boulevard system. So this is a system of bike routes that are go throughout the city of Tempe. These are low stress and more comfortable bike facilities that connect residents to regionally significant destinations and local parks throughout the city. So this will be part of the Handlebars Bike Boulevard route, which continues from the city of Chandler to the south, north all the way to the city of Scottsdale. So this is the middle part of that Handlebars route. In addition, seeing success that other cities have had with the implementation of cycle tracks in the region. We're excited to propose our first cycle track in the city of Tempe. So that will be proposed as part of this project. In addition, this project directly connects to 3 parks. There's one neighborhood park that just finished renovations for new landscaping, lighting, and ADA accessibility into the park at Dwight Park. That's more of a residential park. In addition, we are just starting construction on Clark Park, which will have a new recreation center and pool. And then finally, this connects directly to the regional Kiwanis Park, which has a wave pool, a large recreation center, and multiple sports complexes like baseball fields and soccer fields. In addition, the project on the north side goes to downtown Tempe, very near to ASU's main Tempe campus. And then finally, this project goes through one of the highest employment densities within the city of Tempe. It goes through 2 areas which Tempe has designated as Tempe Maker District and the Broadway Innovation Hubs. These are opportunity zones with targeted investment for infrastructure to attract more employment, as well as the integration of more mixed uses beyond just industrial uses in this area. So looking to attract retail, commercial, and multifamily residential within this area. Next slide, please. So this slide is providing a project timeline for this project, and Kay did a good job of explaining these, but I'll go into a little bit more detail. This project was originally intended as a Rails to Trails project program for construction in 2020. Initially, the project was proposing to be a mostly off-street pathway within Union Pacific right-of-way. With that, we kicked off the final design for the project in 2018, which included robust public and stakeholder outreach. At the same time, we received revised design direction from Union Pacific, which outlined different design requirements from what were originally defined within the preliminary design process that Kay mentioned. As we finished the 30% design, it became apparent that additional design alternatives would need to be developed and that additional negotiations would be necessary with Union Pacific. So the city requested its first deferral from 2020 to 2023 to move that federal construction funding. As negotiations continued after the first deferral, it became even more apparent that the city would not be able to secure the easements necessary from the Union Pacific Railroad, which were necessary to build out the original project's alignment. The city developed multiple alternative alignments, which were presented to our city council. Ultimately, city council recommended an alternative alignment that pushed the project just a quarter mile to the west, which culminated in this project being presented today. Following the city council decision for recommending an alternative alignment, we came through this MAG committee process to officially request the change of the project scope from an off-street path railroad alignment to this on-street alignment 1/4 mile to the west. This was approved in 2022. Since then, we have hired a new project consultant who has kicked off the final design for the alternative alignment. And last week, we held our first round of public meetings on those draft 30% designs. So we are making great progress in the design development for this new alignment. Next slide, please. So that brings us today in our current deferral request. We are requesting to move the construction funding from 2023 to 2025. This deferral will allow the city the necessary time to finish the 30% design of this new alignment and contract the remaining design work when additional local funding becomes available in July. This will allow the additional time necessary to hold the additional public outreach and prepare the final plan specifications and estimates so that this project is ready to bid for construction. Next slide, please. So the city does remain committed to this project. The project's design is entirely funded with local money. When we exhausted the funding of our original consultant's contract on the original alignment, the city programmed additional funding necessary to complete the design for this new alignment. That's the funding that will become available in July. In addition, the city continues to reappropriate all the required local match funding for our federal construction grant and the additional contingency funding necessary to complete the construction of the project. And as always, project management staff will be assigned through the completion of the project. Next slide, please. This slide is our proposed new schedule. And while we hope to beat this proposed schedule, we have nonetheless built out a very conservative schedule based off of our recent experience with obtaining the necessary environmental right-of-way and utility clearances. We anticipate awarding the remaining design contract in September of 2023. and finishing the design by September 2024. Following that schedule, we are targeting to begin construction in the spring of 2025. Next slide, please. So again, I want to thank you for the opportunity and your consideration of our second deferral request. We are requesting to defer the federal construction funding from 2023 to 2025. And I'm happy to take any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Chase. Are there any comments or questions before we entertain a motion? Hearing none, is there a motion to recommend approval of the second project deferral for the City of Tempe, Union Pacific Railroad Tempe South Spur Line project?
Mr. Chairman, this is Scott Lowe from the City of Buckeye. I joined late, but I also offer a motion to approve.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second. This is Chris in Goodyear.
Thank you, Chris. Steph, we have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Paul Patney,
Aye.
Raj Thowdam,
Aye.
Scott Lowe,
Aye.
Hal Marin,
Aye.
Jorge Gastelum,
Aye.
Justin Weldy.
Mr. Chair, point of clarification, this is, I voted yes on a different committee here, so I don't want to create a conflict. Your suggestion, sir?
I don't believe there's a conflict. I believe you can vote.
Aye.
Thank you. Jason Hafner,
Aye.
Parab Anabala,
Aye.
Chris Bridges,
Aye.
Bob Thaxton,
Aye.
Keith Drenaski,
Aye.
Steve Wilcox,
Aye.
Shar Johnson,
Aye.
Adina Lund,
Aye.
Keeney Knudsen,
Aye.
John Kraft,
Aye.
Mohammed Youssef,
Aye.
Mark Melanchenko,
Aye.
Kristen Taylor,
Aye.
Shelley Seiler,
Aye.
Randy Babchuk,
Aye.
Grant Anderson,
Aye.
and Mr. Chair, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you. This motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you. Item number 6 is the 2020 Census Urban Results Area Results. I don't know, number 6 on the agenda will be presented by Steph Stearns, Mag Transportation Analyst. This item is on the agenda for information and discussion. Steph, please proceed.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the Transportation Review Committee. I'm pleased to be here today to present the 2020 Census Urban Area Results for information and discussion. Next slide, please. So let's start off with why the census matters for federal funds and why I am here today. The population count and boundaries that are derived from each decennial census are used as inputs into federal formulas that determine funding. These formulas then output our annual apportionments of FHWA and FTA funds. Next slide, please. Some quick history of where we are at based on the last census. The boundaries here are shown on the map on the left. We have 2 urbanized areas, Phoenix Mesa, which was established following the 1950 census, and Avondale Goodyear, established following the 2000 census. Keynote of this slide is this last bullet point here. Fiscal year 2023 is the last year that is operating under the 2010 census designations. So this means next year, fiscal year 24, will start operating under the 2020 designations. Next slide, please. Shown here on the screen are the 2020 urban area results, map here on the left. A few key changes that are relevant to us from 2010 to 2020. First, where the term urbanized area was used, it is now the term urban area. This is just a nomenclature shift led by the census. It does not affect federal funding. And we now have 3 urban areas. We've got Phoenix Mesa Scottsdale shown on the map in blue. We've got the Phoenix West Goodyear Avondale area shown in peach, tan, depending on what your screen looks like out in the West Valley. A change on this one is that it has changed from a small to a large area, having exceeded the population threshold of 200,000. And finally, down south in the purple here, we've got the Maricopa urban area. This area exceeded a population count of 50,000, which now makes it eligible to be an urban area. Next slide, please. I started off the presentation talking about how the apportionments are the outputs of the various federal formulas. So shown here on the screen is a sample of the apportionments that we get in the MAG region. The top two categories, CMAQ and NHPP, these are restricted for use. So CMAQ can only be used in a PM10 or a PM 2.5 non-attainment area. NHPP funds are restricted for use on the national highway system. And then to my earlier point about population counts and why population matters, these bottom two categories, STBGP and TA, are allocated based on population. Next slide, please. Moving on to FTA, Federal Transit Administration. The programs under which MAG receives apportionments of FTA funds include the 5307 program, the 5310, 5337, and 5339 programs. Similar to the FHWA allocations, these are population driven, and in the case of 5337, there's also a required transit system component in order to get those funds. Next slide, please. As a reminder, there are policies in place that guide how federal highway and federal transit funds are programmed in the MAG region. Each of these documents shown on the screen are linked for your reference. Next slide. In closing, I'll call your attention back to this map. When I showed it at the beginning, you may have noticed it's a little patchy, it's not continuous. This is because the map reflects the raw census data of population density as of April 1st, 2020. So very much reflective of a single point in time. Federal guidance allows for states and local areas to smooth the boundaries. This does not impact the population or what comes into the region. It just expands the areas of eligibility for funding. The smoothing process is led by ADOT with guidance from Federal Highway Administration and input from MAG. These smooth boundaries will come through the MAG committee cycle for approval later this year. For illustrative purposes, on the map, there is a little red outline around the urban areas. This is a 1 mile buffer, which has historically been the standard for smoothing. Although we do take into account land ownership and jurisdictional boundaries when designating the final smoothed boundaries. A final reminder for this is that the changes go into effect fiscal year 2024, which begins October 1 of this year. We anticipate bringing forth further discussions on policy implications of these new urban areas or changes in urban area status later this year. Next slide, please. Mr. Chair, that concludes my presentation. This is just for information and discussion. I'm happy to take any questions at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Stearns. Are there any questions?
Mr. Chair, this is Jason Hafner from the town of Gilbert.
Please proceed.
Hey, Steph, you may not know this. Have any of the conversations between FHWA and the MPOs and ADOT started on how the two new urban areas, are going to impact like planning funds?
Thank you, Mr. Hafner, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. We have had a very introductory call with ADOT just to talk about smoothing. It's a thing, it's happening, but that's really all we're at for now. I'm sure that there are discussions or there will be discussions to come, and we can certainly update you as we know more.
Thanks, Steph.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Mr. Chair, this is Scott Lowe from Buckeye.
Please, Scott, go ahead.
And this is just a comment. It's interesting how that western boundary of that West Phoenix urban area is just a small portion of Buckeye, in which Buckeye's population is over 110,000 at this point in time, and that's per the census. So it's just it just seems like, well, maybe it'll grow in the with the next census or the next time they make this determination.
Thanks, Mr. Lowe, Chair Zeter, members of the committee. Yes, when we get the smoothed maps, you'll see the area of Buckeye will be filled in a little bit more. And then another thing to remember, just to remind you, is that the census looks at population density. So while Buckeye has the population. It might not be quite as dense in some areas, which is why those areas weren't picked up initially. If they are within about that 1 mile boundary, we will see that filled in.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Stearns.
All right, thank you.
Item number 8 is a request for future agenda items. Are there any requests by a TRC member for a future agenda item? Hearing none, our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, May 25th at 10 a.m. With no further business, this meeting of the MAG TRC is adjourned at 10:35 a.m. Thanks all and have